Whilst the Future Trunks arc isn't my favourite arc in Dragon Ball Super, the villain of the Future Trunks arc certainly is my favourite villain or antagonist in Dragon Ball Super. Zamasu was, in my opinion, on par with some of the villains in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. And I'm talking about the full package of Zamasu that includes Immortal Zamasu and Goku Black, as well as the fusion Merged Zamasu. Make sure you smash a like on the video to show some Zamasu appreciation. Zamasites forever. Anyway, Zamasu's plan in the Future Trunks arc was utterly diabolical. It's probably the most savage evil plan, even surpassing that of the likes of Frieza and even Moro, who's another evil antagonist that comes down the road. The Zero Mortals plan was the genocide of every mortal, not just in the universe, but across the multiverse. And Zamasu didn't take kindly to gods either that in any way supported these mortals. He bumped them off as well. But don't get me wrong, every time you go on X, every time you switch on the news, you do wonder, was that motherfucker Zamasu right all along? Especially when you see motherfuckers comparing Cabba to Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I digress. What I'm trying to say is, Zamasu is an evil motherfucker. His evil intentions actually manifested into an evil plan that's killed trillions of beings, not just mortals, but gods as well. It'll be interesting to know if he killed demons or not. But the question is was Zamasu a Makaioshin? Well, what is a Makaioshin exactly? Well, it is an evil Supreme Kai. Now, the Makaioshin are about to come into prominence simply because Dragon Ball Daima will see Goku, the good Supreme Kai of Universe 7, Shin, visit the demon realm where the Makaioshin resides. Where did we first find out about the Makaioshin? Well, that was in the Super Exciting Guides, which are prominent guidebooks for the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball manga. Personally, my favourite guidebooks that have come out to date. This is what it states. The Kaioshin are born from the fruit of the giant tree on the planet of the Kais. Neither are men nor women, so the Kais are genderless. The population of the planet is about 80, so very small. There is no gender among the core people, and the average lifespan is said to be around 75,000 years. They learn various things in a castle like a school and live a carefree life, but when a Cardinal Kai dies on one of the stars, the next Cardinal Kai is chosen from a lot among them. It even has a picture below of King Kai, Cardinal Kai of the North Quadrant of galaxies, stating that he'd won the lottery basically. It's basically a lottery, it's not earned. However, it continues. Only the Supreme Kai, however, is born from a special golden fruit that rarely grows. We'll get to that in just a moment because in Universe 7 we know that we had 5 of these at once. However, that doesn't seem to be the only method in becoming a Supreme Kai. It continues. There are also occasional delinquent callings. Callings are the race of the people on this Kaioshin world. There are also occasional calling delinquents with evil hearts who end up with the Demon King, so they are not allowed to be the next Supreme Kai. So, just to clarify something, it doesn't necessarily state that the Makaioshin, even though they are evil Supreme Kais, have to be born from a golden fruit, but I think it's a good assumption to assume that they would have to be born from a golden fruit to be a Supreme Kai or an evil Supreme Kai. However, we do know via Zamasu, and we'll get more onto Zamasu becoming a Supreme Kai later on, that Zamasu wasn't born from a golden fruit. He was a Cardinal Kai that was essentially being promoted to a Supreme Kai for his gifted abilities. So he's born from a normal fruit. Or was he really born from a bad fruit? Well, it's explicitly stated by Shin, the Supreme Kai of Universe 7, when discussing Zamasu as one of the potential options of who is Goku Black, that Zamasu is a former Lord of Worlds. Lord of Worlds is a Cardinal Kai essentially, and he's a Lord of Worlds from Universe 10. He's currently being trained as an apprentice to the Lord of Lords there, who is the Supreme Kai, under the stewardship of Gawasu, the Supreme Kai of Universe 10. He's being trained to become the next Supreme Kai. Now, interestingly, the main reason he's being trained to become the next Supreme Kai is because he is that powerful for a Kai that he exceeds most of the Supreme Kais in the multiverse, not even just Gawasu of Universe 10 and Shin of Universe 7, but all of the Supreme Kais across the multiverse. Shin in the manga is the one who tells us this. He must be one of the most skilled fighters, even including all of the Lord of Lords across the universes. However, in the anime, It's actually Whis that tells us about this, telling us that he was a genius in terms of martial arts skills and he is now being trained to be the next Supreme Kai. Obviously, the fact that this is the prerequisite to become a Supreme Kai if you weren't born from a golden fruit is utterly ridiculous, because it's not taken into account his heart, and he has pretty much an evil heart. But to become a Makaioshin, essentially he would have had to have been born with the evil heart, and therein lies the problem. It actually appears that Zamasu has developed this evil intention rather than be born with it. So he wasn't born that way. He was likely a well-meaning Kai. After all, before he eventually turns against the other gods for them being soft on mortals, he does actually have respect for a lot of the gods. However, his viewpoint towards mortals seemingly gets progressively worse as he actually sees the savage primal mortals that Gowasu shows him eventually taking its toll on Zamasu, and him actually getting a worse viewpoint. So based on all the information we have, Zamasu was born from a regular fruit, but he was extremely talented to the point where he was being trained despite not being born from a golden fruit to become the next Supreme Kai. However, throughout this progression, he had a plight of heart and descended into evil, which he came up with the Zero Mortals plan and basically committed mass genocide. I can only assume that in Universe 10 there wasn't another golden fruit, as it was stated in the Super Exciting Guys these golden fruits are rare, and that Gowasu maybe had to train Zamasu to become a Supreme Kai because Gowasu is getting on a bit and there are no other golden fruits. However, obviously in Universe 7 there did seem to once be 5 golden fruits all at the same time, because there were 5 Supreme Kais. There was the Dai Kaioshin, who we got to see a bit more of in the Moro arc when he came back into prominence through the use of Majin Buu against Moro. Don't get the Dai Kaioshin and the Makaioshin mixed up. They sound very similar, but Dai Kaioshin means Grand Supreme Kai, so he's the leader of the other Supreme Kais, whereas Makaioshin just means Evil Supreme Kai. Supreme Kai seem to have a longer lifespan than that of the regular core people, who only live approximately 75,000 years. The Supreme Kais must live a lot longer, based on the events from Moro arc and the Buu arc, and the Dai Kaioshin being around for that period of time, with the Dai Kaioshin being absorbed by Majin Buu 5 million years after he defeated Moro. But here's the kicker: if you can become a Supreme Kai without necessarily being born from the golden fruit, do you necessarily have to be born from a bad fruit to become a Makaioshin? After all, Zamasu did eventually become the Supreme Kai after killing Gowasu and taking his Patara earrings, so therefore he is a Supreme Kai and he is essentially evil. Maybe not from his own viewpoint, he probably thinks it's justice what he's doing, so maybe that comes into play, but from the perspective of most, he would therefore be an evil Supreme Kai. However, those Makaioshin or evil Supreme Kais that are born from the rotten or bad fruits of the tree on the world of the Kais are sent straight away to the demon realm to serve the demon king of that universe. Now we do get to see a glimpse of Universe 10's model, and it's exactly how it's depicted in the guidebooks where we see Universe 7, that same globe-like model. We don't quite see the little pinpoint with the demon realm at the bottom, but I would assume that is the same and would likely have a demon realm as well. After all, we at least know for definite that there are demons in Universe 11 because a demon killed Jiren's parents and Master Gichin. But ultimately, Zamasu was not born a Makaioshin, he was born a regular Lord of Worlds, Cardinal Kai. Basically, he is the same as King Kai. Obviously, he is wildly stronger than King Kai, but I guess that begs the question in Daima that if Zamasu was someone who became evil and committed genocide on that mass scale that he did, imagine how evil a Makaioshin that's naturally born evil would be, and what he would do if he was allowed to run rampant. Of course, in Universe 7 it is stated that currently, post the Buu saga, that Shin the Supreme Kai is stronger than those of the demon realm, but obviously that might not remain the case. So if this new Makaioshin in Dragon Ball Daima becomes enabled to do the things that he would like to do in the mortal realm, who knows what destruction he could cause. maybe there's some sort of Makaioshin hierarchy amongst the demon realms in the whole multiverse, like there is for the gods of destruction and angels. It's definitely an exciting time to be a Dragon Ball fan. Zamasu was not born a Makaioshin, but he could be considered a Makaioshin come the end of his life force. And the exciting thing for me, as you know I'm a Zamasite, if this is to continue in Super, maybe the demons or Makaioshin could look at Zamasu's situation and maybe find Zamasu from another timeline and save him, or maybe even use some magic to save him or part of him from the erasure of the Omni Kings. Thoughts down below. Until next time, Ad Astra.